Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Are you kidding me right now? Mine's completely frozen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear Dan.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. I think we're live.
Yeah, we are.
Corey.
Well, this is a disaster.
Yeah, I got the rainbow wheel. I didn't even know you hit live. But the show must go on.
Welcome into another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Bell the Bodysnatcher is here, back on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh, the frozen face that you might see on the left side of your screen.
And he's Dan Griffith. Do I at least look good? Or am I making a stupid face?
You look really concerned.
You look fucking serious.
Good. That's how
You got some shit to say.
Oh, my God.
I just got some Botox done. I'm making no expressions.
I've only been gone for a week, and already the ship has begun listing here at Libservative. Corey, before we get into anything, why don't you tell the people where they can find us?
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Preferably yesterday. And what we have coming up tonight, Corey, and I know you and your buddy Rob talked a lot about the Supreme Court rulings last week. I have got to throw in my 2 cents, and I think you probably have more to say as well, just because of the reaction that we've seen from these Supreme Court rulings. We've got Biden donors absolutely revolting and abandoning Joe Biden after the debates, and I don't see this getting any better anytime soon.
A mass exodus.
Yeah, I don't see anybody. I don't see this getting fixed, and I'm really at the point now where, I mean, I understand it's only July 9th as we talk here today, but this really could legitimately be an Obama McCain level ass kicking that Joe Biden might take when this election actually shows up here in November. What the hell else did we have? We have Trump pivoting a little bit left. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
it's almost
Trump,
like he's a populist.
Trump fakes right, moves left. Yeah, it's almost like he doesn't have any principles. He just follows the polls.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the new RNC platform.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that goes with all that, basically.
But I'm here to listen.
Good.
Because I don't know too much about that. I'm still recovering from my week at summer camp, where I talked a lot of politics with some smart people and some not so smart people. So here we are. Things learned this week, Corey. I've got mine if you want to let me go first.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
This isn't really so much a learnt as a a lot of times I'll pivot from learnt to sort of a realization, or like something that I thought was happening, but I wasn't quite sure. But now I'm absolutely sure that it's happening, which is the more access that we as human beings have to information, the dumber people get. The dumber people get, and the less trusting people get. The more access we have to information. Like, have you noticed that, like, since we essentially have all of history and everything at our fingertips, where we can literally look up anything, either you can't trust the source, from which you looked up the piece of information, if it's a historical piece of information, or people just don't bother to look anything up anyway.
Yeah, it's all hearsay.
And it's all, your source is Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, you know that there was a conspiracy 45 years ago about the whatever it is, the communists.
Those are my favorite.
Communists creating Encyclopedia Britannica or whatever the hell their thing is that they, whatever excuse it is that they use. But yeah, I'm just starting to come to the realization that this isn't just conjecture anymore. This is factual. The more access we have to information, the dumber people actually get. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there just is so much information that it's like you could easily go onto YouTube and fall down a flat earther rabbit hole. And if your IQ is below like 74, you could easily think that the earth is flat inside of 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
have you seen those arguments, Dan? They're super convincing.
They make really compelling arguments. They absolutely.
Oh my God.
The curvature of the earth. You ever been in an airplane?
Yeah, it's pretty flat from up there.
Oh man. Here's a really good one.
I can't even make these jokes right now and like make my sarcastic face because my frozen face is just serious.
The really good one that I had, the reason I actually thought about this was because of a small debate that I had while I was at summer camp with somebody who's a kind of a 9/11 truther. And he called me an idiot. He took it back. We're good friends. We don't hate each other even after this. But he called me an idiot for believing that Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden were responsible for the actual physical acts of 9/11. And he gave me the building 7 arguments, and how does buildings don't just collapse from fire, that kind of stuff, or like it wouldn't just come down in a all the supposed like pseudoscience evidence that the 9/11 truthers have. And my whole thing was like, because he wants to believe that 9/11 was an inside job as a way to start the war in Iraq, and obviously, the subsequent war since, which we've had these discussions on this show before. And I looked at him square in the face and I said, do you really think that the Bush-Cheney administration needed 9/11 to happen to find an excuse to go into Iraq? Like, you don't think they would have just found another one at some point down the road? You know what I mean? Like, we see it,
yeah.
We've seen it all with Ukraine and everything that's happened since then. And the trying to go after ISIS. Like, do you really think that a presidential administration would stage a terrorist attack of that scale just to start a war? They couldn't have possibly found another way to get that done. Now, I firmly believe that they absolutely used 9/11. They took advantage of what 9/11 was to go into Iraq. I don't think that's even close to a conspiracy, but yeah, this is the kind of thing that got me thinking about like how the more access we have to information, the dumber and more gullible and less trusting people actually become. So that's my things learned.
That's a good things learned. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because like when there's more information offered, that includes good information and bad information.
TMI, Corey.
Well, that's literally what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I learned about normothermic regional perfusion.
Okay.
You know what that is?
Nope.
It's basically a process. It's so the reason why I thought this one was interesting, because I'll get into the ethics of it after, right? But basically, you know how like the organ donor list, because of proximity, logistics, and everything, like even if you're an organ donor, the chances of your organs actually being kept like in good enough condition to go to someone else is like super low and extremely rare.
Okay.
Well, what this does is this basically creates a system that keeps blood flowing in the body after you die, so they have more time to work with the different organs to get them out, put them on ice. And then it saves them from being damaged, and then it gives them a better chance of actually being accepted by like the the recipient's body. And so it's this breakthrough thing that they're doing in Tennessee right now, and it seems to have a really good success rate. And so they're talking about moving it nationwide. But of course, there's ethics around it, because if when somebody dies, what this basically does is it doesn't necessarily bring them back to life. They actually clamp the blood vessels to the brain after the person's dead for, I think, like a half hour or so. And then they remove the organs. But like, people are like, well, if blood gets through, this person could be alive again. Like, they could be bringing this person back to life and then stealing their organs. So there's some controversy around it, but I don't know. This just sounds like something that will, like, I have friends who have diabetes. I have friends who have different diseases and stuff like that who are on waiting lists for different organs, and like, this could potentially save their life. So I found it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. If blood cells, how long do blood cells stay alive in the body after? I mean, Bell maybe would know the answer.
I was just about to say, ask Bell the Bodysnatcher.
How long do blood cells stay alive in the body after the heart stops beating? I guess if you can keep the blood moving and providing oxygen and nutrients to the organs.
Not even that. It's the blood could stop, and if you get an organ on ice, then it's good as long as you get it to where it's got to go in an hour or 2 hours. That's why the list is crazy, is because it's not whether it's immediate. Like, your organs have to be removed immediately.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, it has to be someone with the same blood type as you. They have to be within the same proximity. You have to be in the hospital waiting for it, and it has to be there within like an hour of this person.
It has to be truly a chance thing.
But what this does is this opens the opportunity for a lot more organs to be saved for people.
Yeah, if it extends the amount of time that you're allowed to, that you have to.
You're potentially
harvest.
playing Frankenstein, and that's such a it's such a like a layman's term, but it's just so grotesque. I just gotta harvest them. but like, the amount of lives that this could save, even though you are kind of playing Frankenstein and reanimating a body.
These idiots.
Well, and
the person's already dead, so like, you're not harming anybody.
See, I like that.
But you're also saving lives.
Because a lot of people are against like the stem cell thing, where like, you give a piece of your tissue and then they will grow. Like, if you have a bad something or whatever, they'll grow you a kidney, or they grow whatever. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yeah, that's super advanced. Like, that's still pretty taboo, isn't it?
So this sounds a little better.
Bell, do you have a things learned this week?
Yeah.
Hey, before you go, Corey, do you want to try like refreshing your page to see if we can see your face move again before the end of the episode?
I was gonna wait until we got to the topic of SCOTUS, since I beat it to death last week. But yeah, I'll do that now.
All right, we'll fill you in on what Bell's things learned was.
All right, I'll be right back.
So
It's just bullshit.
I went to Philadelphia this week, the real capital of America.
The real capital.
The real capital. You can go to Washington, D.C., see all the buildings, see all the monuments, whatever. Dude, Philadelphia is where it's at. I went to Ben Franklin's house, dude. I seen the hole that he shit in the ground.
Did you catch syphilis while there?
No, thank God. I didn't go in the house. There's like so the house is actually like, it's underground, and they built the ground over top of it, and they have like plexiglass in the ground. You can like look through the plexiglass and see inside his living room and inside where all of his house was. It's actually really cool. If you get a chance, check it out. There was Independence Hall, all the statues and all the really cool stuff. And what I learned was every American should go to Philadelphia for the history, because it is incredible.
And also the cheesesteaks.
The cheese, dude. Don't get me started on the cheesesteak. The cheesesteaks were amazing.
I thought you were going to say they were pretty mid.
No, they were amazing. They were so nice. I had them twice.
Yeah, Bell actually texted us when he was out there, and I quote, "This place makes the patriot in me erect. I feel like bald eagles are watching over me like the eyes of God. I feel like one of the Delaware River homies here, the fucking home of actual liberty. I feel like terrorists don't dare come here because this city would turn them into believers. I also feel like my blood is also red, white, and blue. Where are you? I said that last week.
This thing, it's original everything there still.
I played this while I read the first State of the Union by Washington.
I know.
Like that. And I was wearing my wig.
I was saying as we were going across. I was saying as I was going across the Delaware, I'm like, this is where Washington and the homies crossed. You know,
Yeah,
The
that is
homies.
crazy.
Washington and the homeboys. They crossed
Yeah,
in
so-
the little boats. That's a big river, dude.
Yeah, I
Those
haven't
damn
been to
slave owners.
Philadelphia, but I know that feeling you're talking about. Like when I was in DC, and like you're by like the Lincoln Monument, and you don't realize how big it is until you see it.
Right.
You haven't
you're
been there
just-
recently. You haven't been there recently, have you?
I was there during the George Floyd protests.
Oh, okay, so there was graffiti all over the Lincoln Monument. The Lincoln.
No, it
Memorial.
wasn't on the Lincoln. There was Jackson got fucked up,
Oh.
but everything else. And I was like, that
Don't
makes
get
sense. I'm
bogged
like, I
down by
still-
all the haters out there.
Yeah, Jackson. No, I
That's
don't
a true
necessarily.
American hero.
I don't necessarily agree with what they did, but yeah, you got fucked up. But it was the same thing like you saw with every city too. Like when they say the whole city is burned down, but it was literally like half a block. There was a couple busted up windows.
Yeah,
was it.
isn't that great? Isn't that great about we've talked a lot in recent weeks about like the fear mongering from like liberals, but the fear mongering from conservatives is just as fucking dumb.
Oh,
it's just
bad.
Oh yeah,
it's just as ridiculous.
Also,
So if
good.
you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
yeah, no, it's
Best one.
wild. The outrage is on both sides. It's just so funny. Like whenever you hear someone say, "Well, the other side," it's just they're just terrible. They want to destroy America, and it's like funny. They have the same argument about you.
Or when you try to explain that we live in a uniparty duopoly and that both in like they go both parties are not the same, and then like you cannot even argue with these people. Like there's just no point. Just walk away. Just walk away.
When they start making the argument like the opposite party is going to destroy the country, my rebuttal is just going to be yes every single time from now on.
Or we're all just awaiting the libertarian takeover, where libertarians take over and leave you the hell alone.
I mean, even that would be shitty. like,
I mean, it's like
government.
I mean, it's like Thomas Sewell says, there are no solutions. There are only
they're
trade-offs.
only trade-offs. Yeah, I would like to see us have more of a like so. No actual party was completely in charge, and they were forced to work together. If we had like 4 or 5 parties, like somewhere over in like France or something.
What if we still had the original presidential rule where the loser had to be the vice president of the election? Remember this? I mean,
Absolutely.
nobody remembers this, but you remember
Right.
learning
might
about
be
this?
good for the country. Yeah,
talk
that might
about
be good for the country.
I talk about this a lot, actually. I think
Trump-
that's
Imagine,
great.
could you
Trump with
imagine
the
if Donald
Biden
Trump-
DP.
or no, could you like think about it right now? Could you imagine if right now Donald Trump were the vice president of the United States under Joe Biden? What would that world look like right now?
That's when the federal government was
Here, hold on.
like had virtually no like effect on
It didn't-
everyone's
it
like,
basically
day-to-day
didn't
lives. Yeah.
exist.
Here,
Yeah.
let me here. How about this one? Donald Trump is president with the Hillary Clinton vice presidency.
Ooh.
Oh, that would have been fun.
But then you
An
can go
Obama
back not
McCain
that
one
far.
might not be that bad.
I was just going to say, you can go back not that far and think of a situation where it might even be okay. Or even, even Obama Romney. It's just fucking 2 milquetoast duopolists.
Bill
Yeah.
Clinton, Bob Dole.
Wow. So you have one guy that got a ton of ass in the White House and another guy that couldn't get it up. That's what we're talking about here. 1996 through 2000 would have
I
been
keep
wild.
trying to sneak Monica into the Oval Office, but Bob Dole
would've-
keeps cock
dude,
blocking me.
No, it would have just been Bill trying to help Bob Dole get hard. Like, I'll do whatever I got to do for you, Bob. You're my vice. I'll bring in as many whores as I got to bring in to get that thing rolling for you again.
Monty, get in here.
Here, try this Monty. She was pretty good for me. Don't touch that dress, though. That dress is mine. Oh man, did you guys see the Biden Stephanopoulos interview? I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw enough of it. I
didn't see it, but I watched this. I listened to the Scarborough telephone interview.
Why doesn't, like, I don't understand how, actually, what I was going to say is I don't understand how the Biden administration doesn't understand that all of the American people sees what they're doing here. But then I just thought about it as I was saying it, which is that, like, I don't think they care. I don't think they care. They're throwing whatever they can at the wall and seeing what sticks to try to make this debate performance go away. And what they're doing is, Corey, you mentioned in the pre-show about the two radio hosts that did interviews with Joe Biden that were essentially fed questions. I'm not sure if it was from the White House or from the Biden campaign, but, like, honestly, at this point, really, what's the difference? One of those DJs resigned following that. You have this George Stephanopoulos interview, which is, I mean, George Stephanopoulos is nothing more than just a Democratic mouthpiece, right? Like, he's obviously not going to challenge the president. And I liked how during some of that interview, they, like, gave some of these, like, he threw out some of these faux sort of difficult to answer questions to Joe Biden to make it look like he was asking cutting questions. But are we not to believe that Joe Biden didn't know what George Stephanopoulos was going to ask prior to this interview? Like, it's not like he was being interviewed by Sean Hannity, which would have also been terrible because Sean Hannity is also a duopoly stooge, but at least he would challenge Joe Biden, I think, a little bit. It's not like he was being, or John Stossel. John Stossel would have been a great.
Yeah.
How about Glenn Greenwald? How about somebody like that?
Glenn Greenwald would rip him an asshole. John Stossel, I feel like he does it, but he's fair about it. He asks hard-hitting questions, but he's not, like, trying to attack you. Like, he legitimately wants answers.
Yeah, I like John Stossel more now that he's, like, officially announced himself as a libertarian over the last, whatever it's been, 6 years or so. I like him a lot more now. But, like, does the Biden administration actually think that this is going to work? I think they do. I think they really believe this is going to work.
Honestly, like, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Like, I think politically, they know that switching Biden out at the convention, which is still a possibility, if the donors keep pulling, they're going to run out of money and he's going to lose. And if he loses, that's a win for Democrats because then they know that they could probably get the House and the Senate, at least in the midterms in 2 years.
That's also kind of an interesting point, too, because what I love is how for the last...
They don't have to run on policy. It's just orange man bad.
Exactly. And I love
That's
how...
all I have right now.
Well, the orange man bad thing is so interesting, right? Because it's this whole idea of like, was it... who was it? Was it Brianna Joy Gray that said, hey, let me know who to vote for? Because I'm going to vote for whoever isn't literal Hitler, talking about Donald Trump as if these tactics are still going to work.
Right.
I don't know if
that's what I mean. Trump
is
the only reason Biden even has a chance of winning.
It wasn't Brianna Joy Gray. It was, I don't quote me on that, but maybe Bell can find it. She had this whole like rambling, whoever it was had this whole rambling deal about how basically, hey, Democratic Party, let me know who I'm supposed to vote for so we can keep literal Hitler out of the White House. And I look at that and I go, I find that so interesting, right? Because, and I think Ryan Grimm made this point on Counterpoints a few days ago. So I'm not going to take credit for this, but I think it's worth repeating, which is isn't it so interesting how people like, you know, Gretchen Whitmer, who's one of the heir apparents, perhaps, Gavin Newsom, who's one of the heir apparents, perhaps, to maybe take this spot over, how this entire party has spewed this nonsense about how if Trump wins this election, democracy is over. But also, we're just going to wait till 2028. Like,
Yeah,
which is it?
Even
Which is
Biden
it?
was like, well, they like because in the Joe Scarborough interview, he's like, you have all these people who are concerned that you have to win, that you gotta win. What it actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep talking, but I have it. I'll pull it up. I should have had this queued, or I did have it queued, but then I had to reset my whole browser,
Nah, boy.
and that's not the article I wanted. I don't want to read about transplants again. But yeah, Joe Scarborough asked him like, oh, you like, about like how he has to win and this and that. Are you concerned about that? And Biden's like, hey, listen, I'm gonna give it my best shot. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, just my hard work is all that matters. As long as I try real hard, that's all it's about.
Basically, is what he says. I'm gonna find it for us. But yeah, like when I heard him, like, and some of the ramblings from this, I'm not gonna play all of it. It's only 18 minutes, but I'm not gonna play all of it. But I believe this is it right here.
You'll get there eventually. Don't worry. We'll wait.
It's popping up.
Is your internet still just like not allowing things to come up?
And you said,
There we
well,
go.
as long as I did the best I could do, that's the topic came up of the Stephanopoulos interview where you were asked the question, how would you feel if Donald Trump beat you? How would you feel after you lost? And you said, well, as long as I did the best I could do, that's the most important thing. That's
just
caused
bullshit.
Democrats concern who believe that losing is not an option. What would you
Big
say
laugh.
to those who are concerned by that answer?
It's not an option, and I've not lost. I haven't lost. I beat him last time. I'll beat him this time. And this is a guy who, look, we talk about debates. Look at his performance with debates. He lied over, Trump has 50 lies. I mean, look, this is a guy who says 10% of the universe. I want to get into that. He's just a liar.
What?
And he
What?
hasn't done a damn thing since the debate. He's been riding around in a golf cart for 10 days or down in Mar-a-Lago talking with his wealthy friends. I'm not running because of these guys, Joe. I'm running because, and you know me well enough to know this from the very beginning, I ran because I never bought on to the trickle-down economic theory. I never bought into the notion that
just
we have to
bullshit.
walk away from the rest of the world and cave to Putin or anybody else.
Scarborough,
I never
please, he's
believed
talking.
any of that. And I'm confident that's what the American people are. So what
These
I did
idiots.
was I went out and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any
So this
slippage at all.
isn't. I'm gonna remove this because this isn't him actually saying it. That's him asking him about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he basically is like, yeah, I'm just gonna give it my best shot, Hopefully I do my best, and if I don't, well, at least I tried my hardest.
Yeah,
But democracy's on the line, Joe.
God, well, that's what's so
I'm
like.
just gonna do my best.
Listen to Joe Biden speak just during that obviously scripted phone call, right? Where he still can't get the words out. Like he's not even on camera. He still can't get the words
Right
out.
now he's in the house.
And then
Yeah, and that's a phone interview, and like during it, you can hear like papers shuffling on his side. Like you could. He's promise you, like Saagar mentioned this. He goes, that he probably had his staff in there with him. They probably had paper with talking points, and they're pointing to things to him to say.
it said giant papers, almost like a teleprompter, where they're just holding up like
72 font.
8.5 by 11, and he's squinting at it while he's listen, man. It's 50. What's the Dana Carvey line? All Americans should be treated equally. Oh man,
You're right, Joe.
So the big thing here, right? And this is kind of what's new this week, which is that donors appear to be staging a coup to get Joe Biden off the ticket. And the big one that you're seeing everywhere, if you go on Twitter, is Abigail Disney. She was on Breaking Points with Krystal and Saagar yesterday or the day before, basically talking about how donors should stop donating to the Democratic Party as long as Joe Biden is the nominee for the Democratic Party. And what I found so interesting about this is the thing that I found interesting. Not necessarily that donors are like talking about pulling out of donating to the Democratic Party as long as Joe Biden's on the ticket, but it's the fact that Abigail Disney, during this interview with Krystal and Saagar, still needed to sing the praises of Joe Biden. If you don't believe me, go listen to this interview, because she had to say things like, "Oh, he's such a nice man, just a great person. He's just too old, and we just need somebody else." It's like they still can't even just be honest about what these status quo politicians are, which is fucking warmongers and thieves. At the end of the day, they steal your dollars and they send them over to kill people. I mean, it's not, and obviously it's not that simple, but like if you wanted to sum it up,
It's that with
like,
extra steps.
yeah, it's not. If you wanted to sum it up in like a one sentence deal for why establishment Republicans and Democrats are not nice, good people, like she says Joe Biden is, that's basically the way to do it. And the thing that I found, another thing that I found really interesting, and I'm going to call Saagar out publicly for this one, because no, wait a minute. I'm not going to get down on him too hard, but like, you ever listen to an interview and you just wish somebody challenged somebody on something?
Yeah.
So that's really what this was, because Saagar has spent the last week or more, at least since the debate, talking about how arrogant and how much hubris Joe Biden has, and that is why he won't drop out of the race. You couldn't have challenged her on the "he's a very nice man" comments while she was on. Come on, Saagar. You're better than that. You know you're better than that.
Well, I get it, but like, what is he going to challenge her on?
Well,
oh, he's not nice. What do you mean?
Why? I don't understand the donor class still, like, while at the same time trying to get him removed from the ticket, continuing to sing his praises. Like, if you want to show that you actually give a shit about this election cycle, call it what it is. Joe Biden sucks. His economy is not nearly been what people like Joe Scarborough says it's been for the past almost 4 years now. Call him out for what's real, because what you're showing me as a rich billionaire donor that Abigail Disney is that, hey, listen, we're super rich and all we really care about is our pocketbooks. Like, do you want to at least appear like you care about the American people? We all know you don't, because you're a billionaire, but do you want to at least appear that way? Not a very good PR move for Abigail Disney in that sense.
Well, she thinks he's a nice man, but he shouldn't run for president, I guess. I don't know.
Even though she admitted she hadn't actually spoken with him since he was a senator.
Just blindly giving him money.
So she's the big one out there. There have to be others. Like, there have to be other dominoes.
What was it, Clyburn?
Jim Clyburn?
Yeah. Did you say something about him? Or do I have the wrong name? There was one guy who said that, I forget his name, was telling donors not to donate.
Oh, yes. I don't remember if it was Jim Clyburn or not. I had it in front of me. Oh, no. It was James Carville.
James Carville.
James Carville, the establishment Democrat loudmouth, James Carville.
Is he the one that was like, these young motherfuckers?
Yeah, you have to vote for Joe Biden. Like, just, what was it, 4 months ago? We played the audio on the show about James Carville talking about, like, we just can't let Trump get elected.
Does this kind of like allude to the fact that this president has been this sheltered, that people in his own party bought the ticket and believed that he was more like in tune with reality than he actually is?
I mean, either that or they were.
Because why is it why do a lot of them seem like they're just as shocked as we are? So the guy hasn't done any press conferences. The guy didn't do the Super Bowl interview. He hasn't gone out and did anything. You know what I mean? He was just kind of just there.
It's one of two things, right? They were either in such denial, or they've been covering it up for all this time.
Like a
now you have
thing.
Now you have the Parkinson's stuff coming out, where apparently there's been a Parkinson's specialist from Arthur Reed Hospital that's visited the White House. What is it, 9 times or something since January?
Something like that. I'm not sure. Hey, Bell, that's a number that's important. Can you look up how many times the Parkinson's doctor visited the White House
in the last however many months? But yeah, it's so like, are they in? Because you have, so this is why Joe Scarborough. I mean, this isn't why, but this is one of the main reasons why Joe Scarborough is so full of shit, because he has changed his tune 4 times just in the last couple of weeks. Because you remember him talking a couple of, was it like right before the debate, maybe a week before the debate, where I've been in 8
times in 8 months.
8 times in 8 months. There's been a Parkinson's expert at the White House. Why is that? I don't know. We don't know.
And I don't know his name exactly. If you could find that one, because it was in the guest log, but Karine Jean-Pierre, when all the people were pressing her in the press room, and she's like, "This is private information. This is for the security of the doctor." But like the guest log is like FOIA, basically. Like it's freedom of information, like of who visited.
She's so bad. Yeah, Joe Scarborough, just in the last 3 weeks has changed his tune like 6 times. You know, right before the debate, it was, the president's so lucid. I talked to him on the phone for 4 hours. He's cogent. He's more cogent than he's ever been. That's right. Dr. Kevin Kennard. How many people are reaching out for interviews on from that motherfucker?
Oh, I bet a fucking ton, dude.
Dude, we got to slide into his DMs. See if we get that one going.
Yeah, he's a neurologist who specializes in movement disorders and recently published a paper on Parkinson's.
Okay, so a specialist who specializes in movement disorders. So like, what's the
lack thereof?
Right. What's the best case scenario for a doctor like that? Let's just say he was going to visit Joe Biden. What does that tell you? What that tells you is that Joe Biden is old and can't fucking move to the point where he needs a specialist to visit him 8 times. Is he giving him drugs? What's he doing? Are they doing physical therapy? Well, it ain't good. It ain't a good look.
Karine Jean-Pierre says that's top secret information.
It's very private. Top secret. It's gonna end up in a bunker at Mar-a-Lago after this is all said and done.
Fuck no, it's gonna end up in Joe Biden's garage next to his 64 Corvette.
Yeah, right next to the 67 Corvette. Get it right.
Oh, was it a 67 Corvette?
My 67 Corvette.
Hey, Dan is right.
you got to get the important things. You got to get the important things correct.
My 67 Corvette. He almost lost that, in a fire.
He did. Yeah, almost. Yeah.
He didn't, but he almost did. I wonder if he lost those documents too. He's probably wishing that did catch on fire.
Nah, everything was fine because it was okay that he had them. Like the big difference between Trump's documents and Biden's documents. We've talked about this before. Because
Trump crossed his arms and went, no.
Yeah, it was the obstruction. It wasn't the fact that he had the documents that was the problem.
Bell's got something.
Records from the Obama administration when Mr. Biden was vice president show that Dr. Kennard made at least 10 visits in 2012 plus a family tour, 4 visits in 2013, 1 in 2014, 4 visits in 2015, and 8 visits in 2016.
So maybe they're just homies. I guess that's possible.
Could be possible.
Maybe they're just homies. Did they graduate to the bottom of their class together?
House?
I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to look into this guy real quick.
Those were all visits to the White House?
Yes.
Okay, so Trump had 8
That's
visits
interesting.
from a Parkinson's doctor.
No, none of those dates were from when Trump was in the White House.
2016.
Right, Trump didn't take office until January.
Oh, yeah. So this would have been when Biden was still in office, just as VP.
So maybe they're homies. Maybe it's that simple. I guess it's possible.
The logs are from the Biden administration or the Obama administration. So it was definitely when Obama was in office.
Yeah, for Biden.
So there we go. There it is.
Allegedly. That's not for sure. But Obama still seems pretty cogent.
Cogent. Yeah. Thank you, Joe Scarborough.
He's more cogent than ever.
It's just bullshit.
Yeah, so we'll see where this goes. I mean, donors turning on Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to take long for this to either come to a head or go away. Does the Biden administration survive this? It might survive this, but if the election were next Tuesday, I think we're looking at an Obama McCain level beatdown in favor of Donald Trump. It's not going to be good.
Yeah. And that doesn't make, and we're not saying that with any sort of like excitement or anything.
No, yeah, and you never know what can happen between now and November. Another war could break out. I mean, you've no clue. I'm just saying, if the election
war's
tomorrow,
breaking out now, you hear that helicopter?
I do.
I got his phone number if you want to reach out for an interview.
Oh, for his office. Did his voicemail? My inbox is full.
This inbox is full.
I have his office address if you want to send him a letter.
It's like fucking 65 voicemails from Alex Jones. I
know you're thinking first was like, "Hey brother, hey, call me back. It's Alex Jones. I need to talk to you about the brain worms that you're putting in Biden's, the demon worms you're putting in Biden's brain."
Yeah, and I know you're doing it because I got the documents. I got a room full of documents. I can't show anybody the documents, but I got all the documents.
Half hour later, after 2 more beers, it's an Alex Jones guy. Call me back.
And his fingers are swelling up so much that he can barely hold onto the phone anymore.
3 hours later, it's like his 18th one. You just hear, I'm sick of this crap.
Have you looked at videos of Alex Jones lately? He looks so swollen. He just looks like a giant bruise. He does not look good. That man does not look good.
I'm dying, Joe. Remember he said that?
That wasn't as good as, I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded. That was the best line that Alex Jones ever said.
Joe, I'm dying.
So I just came in here
Joe. This stuff's killing me, Joe.
That Biden's doctor came out and said that each of his visits were for his annual physicals.
Prostate exam.
Once a month is your annual exam.
That's what I was thinking. They ain't friends.
Joe Biden just keeps forgetting that the guy's there, so he calls him up next month.
Jill just goes, "Okay, Joe, we'll schedule
you did such a good job on the phone. You answered all the questions."
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about it. Jill Biden is such a monster. That woman is an absolute monster of a human being to put her husband through this, and for Hunter to put her dad through this.
Well, Hunter is a crackhead.
His dad. Well, yeah.
I'm not diminishing drug abuse. I'm just saying that crackheads aren't necessarily got their mind right.
We have Trump pivoting left, Corey.
Speaking of pivoting, and it is segue. Trump pivots. Trump fakes right, goes left.
So I haven't read a lot into this, but I'm going to see if I can set it up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you're going to pull up a bit of a piece to read a little bit of it. But essentially, Trump is kind of taking a bit of a leftward turn when it comes to both abortion and gay marriage. Is that basically what I'm supposed to understand here?
Yeah. He is. He is softening.
He's going to be more left than Biden on this after it's all said and done.
Yeah. So he is.
I'm listening. I'm going to pour a drink while you set this up.
All right. So right now in the new RNC platform, Trump has basically taken the reins of the RNC, and he has softened language on both abortion and gay marriage. And this right here just proves to everyone that Trump has no principle. He's just a populist who probably just reads polls every single day and then just decides what the polls say is what he's going to go with. They were removing. So when it comes to abortion, they are removing. All right, 1 second here. Okay. Yep. So they are removing the federal the stance of a federal abortion ban in the countries, and Trump wants it left to the states. And on the other hand, he's also removing so this one is actually, I think, pretty big, because the new proposed on same-sex marriage, the Trump-aligned platform committee also approved changes opposed by social conservatives in the party. The new proposed platform removes language that says marriage is between one man and one woman and is the foundation for a free society. It was replaced by language that says the party instead promotes a culture that values the sanctity of marriage, the blessings of childhood, the foundational role of family, and supports working parents.
Who's Matt Walsh gonna vote for now?
I don't know. But yeah, it's funny because what is a woman, Trump?
Yeah, what are the tradcons gonna do?
Sounds like
now?
some real woke language to me.
No, well, what I think this proves more than anything else is that, like, this idea that Trump is some sort of like anti-LGBT. I mean, that's the trope about Trump, where he's like, he's gonna end gay marriage, and he's not gonna give he's gonna make sure that women don't have the right to choose. Like, we always knew that was bullshit with regards to Trump. He's never been anti-gay. He's never been anti-abortion. He kind of pretended to be at certain times in order to get, the evangelical vote, but we always knew that he wasn't. The man is a fucking billionaire mogul from fucking New York City. You think he's never worked with gay people before? You think he's never been friends with gay people before?
Right, remember, he
was
used
always
to hold
nonsense.
up signs in the 2016 elections that had the rainbow flag that said LGBTQ for Trump, which was like just funny because none of them were voting for him, but the couple that he liked, he fucking embraced them.
All the reasons to hate on Trump, him being anti-LGBTQ is not one of them. Was never one of them.
Right, like, and then and that's funny, right? Because he was the first president to, I think, who was it that said this? It might have been Jimmy Dore on Joe Rogan. He said that someone else was saying it, but Blair White said it. Trump was the first president to come in accepting same-sex marriage, and then being the first president when same-sex marriage was like actually a thing. Because remember, Obama had to be the one that passed it.
Sure.
But yeah, so when it comes to the federal, they're under their platform before, they said a federal ban on abortion. It's changed to like that yes, they believe in the 14th Amendment protecting children. Therefore, states are therefore free to pass laws protecting those rights. He's trying to keep it as a state issue.
Mm-hmm.
And social democrats are losing their fucking minds. The words I am hearing, I forget who this is quoted by, but he goes, the words I am hearing are shocked, betrayed, trampled, depressed, deflated. Most pastors I know don't want Biden and will still probably vote for Trump. But this hurts the energy needed for those folks to do the things it takes to help elect a president.
So you're talking, you don't mean social democrats, you're talking about Republicans.
Social conservatives. Did I say social
conservatives?
I meant social conservatives.
I think it was just a little Freudian slip there. But yeah, no, like I can just see the tradcons losing their mind over this. I guarantee you we won't hear anything.
Called it a profound disappointment. I love it. Dude, I love it. Then another thing I love about this too. So on Saturday, the Project 2025 thing was popping up, starting to bubble up, right?
Yeah, that nonsense.
On Saturday, Friday, July 5th, Trump puts out one of his truths. And he says, I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they are saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them.
It's just another
best part.
It's just another fear-mongering tactic from the establishment liberals that nobody, any thinking person, takes seriously.
One day after Trump's social media post, Project 2025 director Paul Dans canceled a taped interview with NBC News that was scheduled for Monday. Like, imagine working so hard on like a special project that you thought was so important, and only to have the person that you made it for not even know what it is and call it abysmal. I'm so glad that Republican infighting is back because it's so much more bizarre.
Listen, man, it's what we've always said. It's what we're gonna say until the election and afterwards. Trump is not this fucking horrible Hitlerian character. He's the reasons to hate Trump are on policy, and you should hate him on policy because his policy is fucking terrible. What's this?
I love Armed with My Opinions.
What does it say? Hey, Biden bro's gonna cry. Your boy has to mention. Does he really still think we're pro Biden?
No, I just think at this point, I think he just says it because we think it's funny too.
I can respect that. I respect that.
Biden bro is gonna cry. Oh, you guys show gratitude towards King Trump after Biden throws the election.
That's a fun conspiracy. That's an interesting conspiracy. Biden intentionally trying to lose the election. I don't really know why.
That's what I was saying earlier, that the Democrats don't really care because Biden is good for the Democrats. When Trump wins,
Trump's good for the Democrats.
Trump's good for the Biden's. Yeah. When Trump wins, the Democrats always take the House and the Senate because Trump gets on the platform, can't shut his fucking mouth, gets everyone all aggravated, so they just vote against him.
Isn't that going to be such an interesting piece of history? Like, we'll call it 15, 20 years from now, when we reflect on the Trump era. I'm assuming, Trump's an old ass man.
It's gonna be looking back at like the Attitude Era of WWE.
Right. Well, that's what's so interesting.
Times.
It's like
that was
Trump.
That was on cable TV.
Trump wins, right? But like nobody that tries to be Trump down ticket, they always get blown out in every election. Everybody that's tried to do the Trump thing, there's a couple of exceptions, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, obviously. But like for the most part, anybody that tries to be Donald Trump down ticket always gets blown out in an election. Well, I shouldn't say blown out. Carrie Lake's election.
He's a crapful politician. He does what's good for him.
Carrie Lake's election was a little bit close in Arizona, but you're also talking about
Carrie Lake's the one that wrote that book, right?
That's Kristi Noem. She South Dakota, North Dakota, I forget.
Yeah,
but no, Carrie Lake was the chick from was the chick from Arizona. That it was a close election, but you have to realize that Arizona over the last 15 years has been a pretty Republican and right-leaning state. So the fact that a Republican candidate lost to a Democratic incumbent, but the Democratic incumbent did not win by a lot in her first election. So, but other than that, there are a few exceptions, but mostly like all of like the Trump minions, they all get fucking smoked
because they're not Trump.
Unless you're JD Vance, but JD Vance played it well. JD Vance didn't go like full MAGA. He just kind of went like half MAGA, like the sensible stuff. And then like the rest of the rest of the stuff was sort of libertarian-esque. I'm getting a little bit of respect for JD Vance in certain ways, but he creeps me out in other ways. I'm not really sure how I feel about JD Vance.
I have a lot of respect for him because when East Palestine, it was in his district. You remember when the East Palestine Norfolk Southern train collapsed or crashed? They lit it up. He was one of the first ones down there, like raising hell about it, like showing the water and showing the shit coming up. And I believe that he's tried to get legislation introduced to like make sure shit like that didn't happen again and stuff like that. And when I see, like, I don't give a shit if they're Republican or Democrat, but when I see a representative actually sticking up for their constituents and just doing the bare minimum of their fucking job, then it's like, good props to you, man. That's why he might be Trump's VP. He's
honestly, dude, that would be JD Vance would be such a good choice. Like if I'm managing Trump's campaign, like from a political and electability standpoint, I don't really know that there's a better running mate for Donald Trump right now. There obviously is. Thomas Massie would probably be the best running mate he could choose, but honestly, I don't think Thomas Massie would be interested.
I'll be his running mate.
I don't think you'll be Trump's running mate.
Yeah, why not? I got nothing else to do.
That might get me to vote for Trump.
If I was his running mate. Hey, thanks, man.
It
might get you to hop off the third party ticket. Jeez, I haven't voted for. I haven't voted. We're coming up on the third election.
I don't even know if I'm on a third party ticket either at this point.
This will be the third election for me that I haven't voted for a Democrat or a Republican.
Well, I mean, honestly, dude, I might just leave the presidential part of the ticket blank. I'll vote for everything else. I'll just leave it blank.
Just write in my name.
It's my protest vote.
So I did last time I wrote. Oh no, I wrote my name in for AG for Michigan last year. I think that's probably my only vote. But yeah, I wrote my name in for AG.
You want to move on to SCOTUS being kind of mid? I mean, I know you talked about this a lot last week.
Mid with
Skibbity Toilet Ohio Riz.
You know what this reminds me of? That video that you see of fucking Buscemi, Steve Buscemi, when he's in the high school with the hat backwards, like, "What's up, cool cats?" with his skateboard in his hand.
Yeah, I don't know what you and Rob talked about last week with regards to these most recent SCOTUS decisions, but the two I really wanted to talk about were the presidential immunity one and also the Chevron doctrine. Because I'm kind of like two-sided opinion on the presidential immunity one, and
it doesn't really change anything. It really doesn't.
No,
it just now gives verbiage for official and unofficial acts.
That's my entire point. And Glenn Greenwald broke this down very, very well on his show yesterday, where like this establishment liberal freakout that, you know, this somehow benefits Trump and he's gonna start assassinating his political opponents and all this stuff. It's like, do you not realize that the Supreme Court of the United States of America levied this decision while Joe Biden is president? So any like advantage that you think Trump is going to have, like, are you just admitting that Trump's going to win this election then? Like, is that what you're admitting? Because
they're saying
in theory,
out loud.
if you're a Democrat, you're assuming, right? If you're a Democrat, you're assuming Joe Biden is going to win this election.
Again, before this presidential immunity was actually given to the president, Obama was drone striking Americans and drone striking weddings, and he didn't get accounted for it.
Right. And
so,
because it was a quote unquote official act.
Yeah,
and like
they're creating words for what's an official act and what's an unofficial act. This is all, like, the president has always basically had immunity for official acts, right? And there's a reason for this. Glenn Greenwald broke this down so well, and this is one of the reasons why Trump is such a quote unquote problem for the establishment and the status quo, because historically, under this uniparty that we've had essentially since World War II, you basically had an agreement between both parties where it's like, okay, if you don't prosecute me for my war crimes at the end of my, not even just war crimes, but crimes in general, for what I did during my administration when you win, well, our next person won't prosecute you either, right? So it was always just kind of this agreement between Republicans and Democrats that if you fucked up as president, wink, nod, nudge, nudge.
So like,
that's why Reagan didn't get in trouble for Iran Contra.
It's why Nixon got pardoned, which I understand he got pardoned by his own vice president, but still, like, it was, basically immediate. It's like this idea that presidential, that like this means that if Trump wins, and basically what you're saying is when Trump wins, he's just going to roll in and start, rounding up all of his political opponents and throwing them in prison and possibly like that is what I like real.
It's like he had the chance to do it already once and he didn't.
No, but like real respected media people are saying that like he's just going to have the ability to assassinate his political opponents, and he's going to be able to do it under the guise of official.
He can still be impeached,
right?
None of that changes.
What are some of the things that aren't covered under this? Right, so not covered would be like what Bill Clinton got in trouble for a sexual assault at the White House. That's not official business.
What, a beach in the Oval Office is an unofficial act?
Or if you want one against Trump, the strong arming of state officials after the 2020 election, that can't be considered official business. because the president has no fucking say. The executive branch of the federal government has absolutely no say over elections. Those are
So you're
all
saying
done by the
Georgia
states.
calls, like the calls to
Right.
Georgia.
Yeah, like you theoretically, if you found something, could come after Trump for that. Like this, this changes nothing, and they want to make it so that like, oh my God, we have this Trump court, which, by the way, as we've talked about a multitude of times on this show, especially when you're talking about Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, and in some cases Neil Gorsuch, these three conservative.
Roberts often. Roberts kind of is like the swing vote.
He can, yeah. Roberts can do it on occasion, but definitely Amy Coney Barrett and definitely Brett Kavanaugh. The amount of times that these two have sided with the liberal side of the Supreme Court and nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. And like you can, and like, you don't have to take our word for it. You can go look it up. Like, go look at how they have voted in some of these these high profile cases.
Mifepristone, that's the word.
I got you.
Thanks.
I'm
homie.
just it just drives me nuts, this idea that this is some sort of Trump court. Like, yeah, he appointed these judges, but you don't know what these judges are going to do once appointed, or how they're going to be, or how they're going to vote. Like, you can look at it if you're a Democrat, if you're a Democratic president, obviously you're going to look for a liberal judge. You know, at the end of the day, you don't necessarily know how that judge is going to vote and how it's going to uphold the Constitution. And I think it's even more difficult to tell when you're talking about a conservative judge, because what we're seeing with this Supreme Court is the different factions and different levels to conservatism, and the different sorts of, you have your constitutional conservative, you have your tradcon, your Justice Alito types. But like, I have been, and if I've said it once, I've said it 100 times on this show. I have been pleasantly surprised with particularly Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh. Now maybe that makes me a rape apologist or something like that.
You don't drink beer, Dan?
I'm sure I'll be accused of that at some point down the road here.
Wait, Amy Coney Barrett raped someone?
She might have. I mean, she's got like 14 kids, so maybe.
God damn it. This just in.
Sean Kemp. Or Antonio Cromartie.
Yeah, and then the same, like the Chevron deference. I'm also kind of like, I like the idea of not letting unelected bureaucrats make decisions and just interpret laws, because that's up to judges. I like the idea of judges doing it, but now we're laying a heavy burden on judges to get caught up. And but that's what judges do for a living. So I believe that the legal system will uphold, but they have to really get familiar with random fucking shit now.
Well, I think the bigger thing with the Chevron, so I'm going to just give a brief synopsis of what the Chevron doctrine was. So the Chevron doctrine was a fundamental principle in administrative law. It stems from a 1984 Supreme Court case of Chevron USA Inc. versus Natural Resources Defense Council, and it entails deference to agency interpretation. So that means courts will defer to federal agencies' interpretations of ambiguous laws as long as those interpretations are reasonable. In other words, if Congress's intent is unclear, courts allow agencies to interpret statutes within a range of reasonableness.
But now they can be challenged.
Right. And so, like, for me, this is good. This actually,
you know what
forces,
I think of?
It forces lawmakers, and that's a good one. But it forces lawmakers, and it particularly forces at least federal judges to do their fucking jobs. Like, this is what you were hired to do. This is what the American people hired you to do. Or this is what, if you go far enough up the line, this is what the president of the United States, if you're a federal judge, hired you to do. Do your fucking job. Don't let something like the EPA, roll in and say, well, this is our interpretation of this law, so this is what you should go with. It honestly, it takes away power from the executive branch. I mean,
Yep.
the president has too much power. The executive branch has too much power in this country as it sits. And so, like, this is a good ruling from the Supreme Court. It doesn't really, it's not a left or right, and it's not a left or right issue.
Right.
But it's always spun that way. It's always spun that way because I can already hear the, you know, the climate change liberals talking about, oh, the EPA just has no power now. What's the EPA supposed to do? And then
you get a judge, and like, if it,
the EPA is basically just a bunch of attorneys anyway.
Yeah. Like the FDA is mostly funded by private pharmaceutical companies. Like these are already like all of these different departments are already shot to hell, full of just lobbyists and people who patted congressmen on their backs to get these positions through political endorsements and through campaign contributions and stuff. Anyways, it's its own form of what you could call DEI. Like they're just paying to play. Like they're like a lot of those people in there aren't there because, like, you don't necessarily have someone in the EPA because they literally shit on all the different chemical companies. You got one who was on the board of one of those chemical companies. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it always is because they're an expert.
The revolving door.
Yeah.
Can I just real quick, because I wasn't here last week, and we had the debate leading up to this. Can I just give my 2 cents on the Julian Assange thing?
Yeah.
Real simple. Really, really happy that Julian Assange is free. Like, so happy for him and his family. Not happy with the result.
Pence also cried about that one too.
He cried that he was freed?
Yeah.
Of course he did. Fucking establishment stooge.
Oh yeah. He said he was upset saying that he was a traitor to our country and yada yada
no,
yada.
He was a traitor to you and the elite class, you fucking asshole. That's who he was a traitor to. That makes him an American hero in my book. Sorry.
Edward Snowden should be next.
Absolutely. 100%. So happy that Assange is freed. Happy for him. Happy for his family. It's awesome that he's not in jail anymore and getting fucking starved to death.
Oh, speaking of a weird little like pivot turn like that, how about as soon as Saudi Arabia started like trying to decouple itself from the American dollar, all of a sudden we released that footage of a Saudi like videotaping for 9/11. Did you see that shit?
No, I didn't see this.
The Department of Defense or whatever released a video of some Saudi guy who was high up in the Saudi regime videotaping the Capitol and showing the building and then like showing the sky and going, this is the Capitol, this is this, and like basically like a surveillance video. And I guess this guy was connected to the Saudis through 9/11. Like the same guy who did these videos was like a consulate member, but he also housed like 2 of the Saudi people in California who ended up being like some of the pilots. And he says he did it just because they were Muslims and he's just trying to be nice to other Muslims.
I mean, that's interesting.
It's almost, it's almost like, it seems like almost like hey, don't fuck with that dollar or we could fuck you up.
Don't chalk but also don't chalk anything up to nefariousness that could easily be explained by incompetence and stupidity.
Just a random roll of the dice that they
like a guy, like a dude fucking saw the U.S. Capitol and was like, "This place is cool. Look at this." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but this guy also was housing some of the Saudi.
I heard that. I know. I heard you say
yeah.
that. And maybe he was just housing them because they were Muslims.
Maybe.
Sometimes it's the simplest explanation.
I don't know, man. I bet you your truther friend would eat that shit up.
Oh, he would absolutely eat that shit up.
That or that Anchorage study about Building 7.
The funny part is he probably doesn't know anything about it.
No. Or the Anchorage
and he won't know about it until Andrew Tate says something about it.
Right. Or the Anchor or the Anchorage University study of World Trade Center 7.
That one.
And how it was a catastrophic failure of the entire foundation all at once is what their study showed, which is interesting.
It's interesting.
I found that one interesting. I'm not saying like, and they even said that like this could be it couldn't be. They said the one thing that we find most interesting about, like, when a building has a catastrophic failure, there's studies on it, and they do all this testing, and then they set up regulations to make sure it never happens again to any other building, but they didn't with Building 7. Now I sound like a fucking truther. I got time for one more. It's already 10:15.
What do we got? What
Do
do
you
we
want
got?
we already talked about the RNC platform, so we only have the SAVE Act.
Okay, I don't know anything about this, so go for it.
So the SAVE Act was just recently introduced by Chip Roy and Mike Lee, and it's not a huge long bill that has a bunch of bullshit in it that's trying to sneak things in. It's just a 22-page, and you know how that when the actual bills are written, you know, they're like double spaced and all that shit.
Dude, 22 pages.
simple-
That's still TLDR when it comes to Congress.
Yeah, but if you put it in a 12 font single space, it did the normal thing without like the 8-inch margins on each side of of like the document and stuff like that. It'd probably be like 8 pages. But you just have a bunch of 80-year-old people in there, so they need it to be double spaced so they can read it. But it just requires documentary proof of citizenship.
Oh, okay. To
That's it.
vote.
To vote. Yeah.
And not even to vote, like, right? Like, you don't have to bring your fucking passport or your
Just to
birth
register.
certificate to the ballot box. You just when you register. And if I remember correctly, like, because I registered when I was, when I turned 18, I registered to vote. I'm pretty sure to register, I had, when I was at the Secretary of State, I had like my birth certificate, my driver's license, like does this change anything? Maybe not for Michigan law, but like, are there states where you didn't have to do that? I have no idea. No clue.
No, but so what they're concerned with is in like places like DC, Oakland, San Francisco, New York, when it comes to their local elections, you don't have to be an American citizen to vote.
Ah.
But their names are still in the registry. So you could see how people would be concerned that they could slip through into voting. And for some reason, Democrats are just staunchly opposed to this. And I really don't understand why.
I bet you it's racist. It's racist. Is it racist?
Yeah, I think it's more racist to say that it's racist. Okay. Because I was doing the math. There's twice as many white people who don't have an ID as there is black people in our country. Like, it always sounds like it's a flex, but it's not. They're just my friends. I have a lot of black friends. And none of them all of them have fucking IDs.
You have a half black sister too. Like, it's not like you're just
so I have a pretty large black family as well. And all of them have fucking IDs. like you ask them like if I acted shocked that they had an ID, they'd be like, "You racist motherfucker!" Like, what the
Dude, we were talking about this pre-show. I've never met a person, an adult human, that doesn't have an ID. I've never met one. I've never met a single black, white, Jewish, Muslim, Asian. It doesn't matter what race or religion you are. I don't personally know anybody that doesn't have a form of identification.
I've known some wooks. You know what I mean? Like people who were grown adults, but they're white, but they didn't have IDs because they lived off the grid. People survive and live that way.
Those people probably aren't voting. Those people,
but they weren't. Yeah, they weren't voting anyways. Yeah, they were hopping trains and doing graffiti and doing random shit like that. And but yeah, and so that's pretty much it. And like, it's so wild because it doesn't even try to get rid of absentee ballots.
Right. It doesn't. It literally changes almost nothing, other than
it changes nothing. It just solidifies the idea that you have to secure the election, that you have to be a U.S. citizen,
which is a fundamentally racist thing, Corey.
Like, it's wild. And then it even talks about in the bill how they have to, like, for absentee ballots, like when you go to register for an absentee ballot, you have to show proof of ID, and then you can, like, you get it mailed to you, or you take it home. And then you can fill it out and send it in because you won't be there the day of.
You're saying you have like a little PIN number attached to that ballot that's then attached to your name.
Yeah,
right?
It asked for it was asking for Well, that was like an idea I had, but I think
it's your idea.
Yeah, but I think in there it talked about how they need to have like a sort of receipt or something like that. But 82% of the country requiring electronic voting machines to print a paper backup of the ballot is in favor.
I agree with that. I like that.
81% of the country approves of requiring all voters to show government-issued photo identification to vote. 76% approve of making early in-person voting available to voters for at least 2 weeks prior to the election day, which I'm all for. Like, I think the voting booth should be open longer than just one day.
Or dude, I've said this for a long time. If you want to make election day one day, why is it not a national holiday? Why don't people have the day off work? It's so dumb.
Should.
It's so dumb.
Well, 72% of the country believes with you, Dan, or agrees with you that making election day a national holiday.
It should be. Why not?
69%.
Dude, you know how much fun that would be? You know, hold on. I just want to.
Oh my God, it would make everyone a patriot. You go and you vote, and then you go get wasted after.
Hell yeah! Like people having election day parties at their house, like barbecues and shit. I love it.
Yeah, people would rent a party bus.
I love
you know how much fun would that be? You get all drunk all day, and then at 3:00 in the afternoon, the party bus shows up. You take the party bus to the polls.
Everybody shows up wasted at the ballot box, and everybody's having fun. Doesn't matter who you're voting for. We're all having fun. Everybody shows up
at
a good time. Everybody shows up at beers at the local library.
No, not even at the party bus. Just tailgating in the parking lot at the polls.
I absolutely love this idea. Like, you know what? If Trump says that he's going to do this, I will vote for him. Just making election day a national holiday.
Voter participation would probably go through the roof because some people just can't fucking do it.
100%. You just can't get there. You can't get to the polls. Because I like voting in person.
Like they close the schools, so you have to. So they close the schools, so you still have to scramble to find a babysitter, and on top of that, still go to work. You're making the working class. It's hard. You're making it hard as fuck for them.
And it should be a holiday like on the level of Christmas. Because you know how like Christmas is like the only holiday where literally everything is closed except for like Chinese food places. Like so, like make it on that level. I'd be throwing a
and then all the illegals bring their food trucks. They can work because they can't vote. And then they just sell food in the parking lot.
And then what you do is like you make exceptions for like first responders, right? They can vote a little early or a little late or whatever, because obviously you got to have first responders or like hospital workers, things like that. I like this idea. Yeah, I'm writing a petition to my congressperson now.
I like it. But yeah, it's wild to me because of the, like there are gaps in the security to our voting processes, and like the voter fraud people from 2020 really like put a stain on even questioning voter integrity laws. But why would Democrats or anybody not approve of securing our election system more?
Well, if you're better at cheating than the other team is.
Well, that's why I say there should be a database where all of this was the one that was my idea, like a database that like when you go in, everyone gets a ballot number, like because they tell you like, oh, your ballot number, and you go and you fill out your ballot and go. You should just get a little receipt. No, your name's not on it, nothing, just the ballot number. And then when all the votes are counted, you could go to a website, just ballotreceipt.com, I don't know, .gov, and it'd just be like a blank fucking screen with just a little search bar, and you could just punch in your ballot ticket number, and it would tell you what the votes were.
And it'll show you what you voted for.
Yeah, and then if I didn't know, and if I don't know anyone else's number, I could just punch in random numbers and see what they voted for, but it wouldn't tell me like what they voted for. We could all get together with our numbers.
No, dude, have you seen the Obamacare website? Like, are you really counting on the federal government to be able to set up a website that has a potentially 300+ million fucking entries into it?
Yeah, no, that's true. But since then, they've gotten a lot better. That was 2012 with the internet versus 2024 with the internet. Like when they were doing the COVID databases, when they were doing, what was another big database that they had to do? I think for the student loan forgiveness, I think they had millions upon millions of people hopping out of that website. It didn't crash.
If they do that, Russia can break in and change votes.
Well, you would also have your paper receipt according to this act.
I don't like it. I don't like any
Argentina, do you like countries like Argentina? They hand count every single one and double check every single one.
Yeah, but Americans can't count. That's the issue. Anyway, I dig it. I'm all for it. Do we have anything else?
Nope, I don't have any headlines from a hellish horrible landscape this week.
Yeah,
I had a 4-day weekend. I wasn't really paying attention to much.
I'm just coming back from camp. We're just getting back into the flow, and now you're going to be a single dad for 5 weeks, so this will be fun.
A single dad. My wife is leaving me.
She's leaving you, but only for 5 weeks.
Yeah, she'll be back. She's
not going back. And she's not going to fuck other guys or anything, so you're good.
She always comes back. She'll come crawling back in 5 weeks, brother.
Notice how Corey didn't deny that. He just said she was coming back.
Oh yeah, no, she ain't doing that. I trust my wife. Yeah, she's not leaving me for 5 weeks. I'm leaving her for 5 weeks.
That's fair. Anyway, tell the people where they can find us, Corey.
All right, you little Obama boys, Biden bros. He's clearly not talking about me. He said we need Kamala.
Yeah, no, that's a debate we've been having. Is Kamala maybe better than Joe?
God. I can't. No, she's not, first off. Secondly, she's hated by virtually everyone. She was one of the first ones to drop out of the fucking debate.
If she is better, she's like 2% better. Like
she's cogent. She's cogent.
I understand. So does Joe Scarborough.
Out of my opinions, world famous Kirk Lazarus, right now. Our website is absurdiveshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram and Twitter at Libservative.com. We can be found at Libservative@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Ooh. And for Bella Bodysnatcher, he as always has been Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
It's been Libservative Intellectual Idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of here.
Peace. What's more American than this, Dan? Rambo holding the burger with American flags and fireworks.